confusing at times. So here's my bird. Double click on the bird after it's been converted to a symbol. We're now editing my misspelled birdie name. That's okay. That's what spell check's for. Spell check doesn't choose my symbol name, so I have to live with my bad spelling. So I've inserted one frame for my bird. I'm going to hit F7 to do the next frame of my animation. You can see my bird disappeared, but I can always bring that back using onion skinning. So I click on that down at the bottom, and that shows me the previous frame. Now I can go back to my brush, and I can pull the wings up, hit F7 again, pull the wings up, and then start bringing it down. I don't like that line. I'll try again. And turn off onion skinning, and we can see probably we'll need one more frame or so to get back to the beginning point. Otherwise it will be fairly jumpy. Alright, so now I have a bird. And if I go back to scene 1, we can see here's my bird. Now if I test my movie again, you will see the bird is flapping. He's flapping more like a bat than a bird. He's flapping his wings really hard, and you know, I just not really a big fan of that at the moment, so we need to do something about it. So to do something about it, animation is change over time. So I need to make the bird take more time. Remembering that my movie is set at 24 frames per second, it's possible to extend this out to, in effect, be at 12, kind of hand-drawn 12 frames per second, traditional animation style, by clicking on a frame and then hitting F5. So every frame here gets stretched out for 2 frames. And what we're going to find is that means each view of the bird will be on screen for 2 frames instead of 1. Now when I test the movie, you can see that the bird flaps at a much more not realistic, but reasonable pace, because it's not a very realistic bird. So that's a start. So that allows me to have a bird. Now I'm not particularly proud of that bird, but he does his job, and we could work with him. Instead, I'm going to reveal a different technique and a way to work with multiple flash files. It's possible to share assets or symbols between flash files. If you have more than one flash file open, when you go to your library palette, you'll notice at the top of the library palette or library window, it shows you you can choose the library of any other open file. Now I have a different file that I worked on earlier today that also has a bird animation in it. So I can now add that animation to my main one. So if we look here, we can see that here is my bird, and if I watch the animation, you can see it actually slightly more than the V type of bird. Hit the wrong button. So there's my bird animation, and it's drawn in the same way as the other, where each frame is on screen for 2, and I also have a guide layer with my color swatches on it that I used while I was coloring it. Again, guides can show you stage areas, but guides can also hold important things like color swatches, so it's easy to choose those colors as you are filling up your artwork with the paint bucket. So that's a handy little tidbit to turn that layer into a guide so that when we watch it, the swatches don't appear. So that's my bird. Now if we go into my main file and switch over to the bird library, I can just drag that bird out onto my stage, and there is the bird. So now if I test my movie, you will see I now have the new bird inside my project. And the illusion works. If you notice, it looks like the bird is actually flying until we stop panning. Do you see how it creates the illusion that the bird actually is moving? Look at that. So we have this illusion of the bird moving until the camera stops. So that's what we need to fix now. So to do that, I need to find that point at which the building or the movement stops, and that's where I'm going to want to start animating my bird. So we can take the bird, which is a movie clip, create motion tween, leave the bird here, and now I can just hit F6 for that keyframe. So that puts the bird into pause motion, and now I'm going to fly the bird off stage. Need to zoom out so I have a little bit more room to work. So we can start to fly the bird off stage, and as we're zooming in, I'm going to make the bird zoom as well. We can see now the bird is going to zoom off as we do it. Now if you notice right here, if I not test my movie, but just hit return or enter, play, you'll notice the bird is not flapping its wings. That's because the bird's a movie clip, and Flash, when you are in the authoring mode, can only show you one movie clip timeline, and in this case the stage, the main root level, scene 1's timeline, can only show you that at one time. If you want to see that bird flap its wings, we need to actually test the movie where it creates a published file, and then we can actually see the bird flap its wings. So now the bird flaps its wings as we move across, and now as we start doing it. Now you may have noticed, did you notice once the bird flew off stage it flapped its wings a few times, so we just saw the tip of its feather coming back in? So it looks like I need to move it a little bit further off screen so its animation doesn't show up, or what I need to do is make it stop. Once it gets to here, just get rid of it. So I can do that by just highlighting the frames on the bird layer. Highlight the frames up to that last keyframe, hit Shift F5 and it goes away. Now we can test the movie and we will see that the bird does indeed animate across the stage and then start flying up as the camera zooms in, and it creates this really nice, almost storybook kind of quality of we're following the bird in as it's establishing the setting, giving us placement, and then the bird flies off and we're going to go to the house, and then it's time to go from that zoom in on the house. Maybe our next shot will be inside, and that's what we will tackle next.